if you had a tube, right, and the only way you could get air to breathe was through this tube, then by default, whatever air is coming through that tube is what you're stuck with, because you're excluding everything else outside of the tube. You see, you hear over and over and over that the only ones coming over the border are the criminals, the drug dealers, the cartels, the child abusers. That's, you know, if you follow this tube storyline, that's all that's happening. But today, we're gonna go somewhere else. Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. In today's story, the family was separated by immigration. Before we start on that story, I want to give some disclaimers to people because, you know, before you pass judgment, I would like you to be open-minded enough to watch the whole video and get a full understanding of what's being said, because what happens is, and I see this in a lot of different spheres within the population and the public and the culture. You know, for example, my mom used to call me up, you know, love you mom. My mom used to call me up in the evenings and say, Frank, did you hear the news? And this would be around 6 or 7, which was obviously, you know, PM, after she watched the news. And she'd say, did you hear the news, blah, blah, blah. And I always had the reminder, Mom, I saw that headline this morning at 7 a.m. on the internet. You know? My point being that sometimes we are creatures of habit. A lot of us are creatures of habit, and we do the same things, and we go to the same news outlets, we go to the same channel, we do things the same way. And so what happens is that people seem to, as a culture en masse, embrace the popular headlines. Whatever headlines seem to be very prevalent, and especially when headlines are repeated over and over and over, I see a propensity of people, they start seeing things through their frame of reference, their glasses, so to speak. I call it copy and paste in this day and age, but just take headlines and repeat them. So today we're making an effort to go outside of those headlines and give some weight to some of these things that are happening they're smothered, they're, you know, crowded out, you know, out of all these headlines. Again, this video is not about open borders or closed borders. Please stay with the video and I'll tell you the story of the family. But understand that there's a whole other story out here that is, you know, just outside of this very narrow view of open border or closed border. And when you get sucked into that open border or closed border, then by default you only accept whatever air is coming through that tube is what you're stuck with, because you're excluding everything else outside of the tube, you see. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So then when you get into arguments about, because that's what people will do, they'll start arguing the tube, what's in the tube. I'm going out of that tube. I'm going out here and saying, look, these people are being abused and they're not getting their fair time. Most people don't know about it. So, and the other thing that's coming through that narrow tube, right? That narrow tube that a lot of people focus on, like having blinders on and only, you know, just getting that air through the tube, is partisan viewpoints. Like, for example, whether Trump doing this or whether Biden's doing this. So people on the Trump side, you know, if Trump said it, then, you know, that's all you need to know. And the people on the Biden side, well, if Biden's saying it, then that's all they need to know. There's nothing else. So today we want to branch out and open up a little bit, because what happened to this family is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, there's a lot of stories like this, and on our channel we completely give deference and respect to family values. So we're not going to just brush this aside as meaningless. You know, it's like when Jesus was talking about having a good shepherd. The good shepherd that has 100 sheep, if only one sheep gets lost in the hills, right? He doesn't say, well, I got 99 other sheep, whatever, you know, it's only one sheep. No, he goes out there and earnestly looks for that one sheep. And when he's able to bring that one sheep, even though he's got 99 whole other sheep, he is so happy to be able to bring that one sheep back into the fold. Meaning, if you save one family's life, you've done good. The headlines can become, and are for many people, simply a distraction. They're a distraction from a lot of these other things that we need to be aware of. And I want to give space to this family that deserves their story to be told, and the countless other families that clearly also need to have their, you know, their stories through this one story as an example to be told as to what's happening. Let's step back and kind of get a larger view, not the narrow tube view of the entire subject, so that we don't fall prey to this kind of thinking that when it gets to its extreme, when you step back and start analyzing the way people behave, you know, once you remove yourself from it and you step back, you will see that people have a mob mentality against foreigners. It's a mob mentality against foreigners that is developing thanks to this narrow way of looking at the subject. Imagine if the only information I was getting all day long, every single day, every single week, every single month, was what a crisis. And don't misunderstand, I'm not saying yay or nay, it's a crisis, it's not a crisis, whatever. I won't go there in this video. But if all I was ever hearing every day was crisis, crisis, criminals, cartels, terrorists, child abusers coming over the wall, coming over the border, and if that's all I was hearing, it would entice in most people a mob mentality against all foreigners. And that's, as we will see today, just absolutely off the mark. We're not trying to minimize the wrongs that are happening because of an open border policy. That's why, you know, we want you to know we're not talking about open border or closed border policy. That's not what this video is about. I think that a lot of people may be under the impression that all you got to do is close the border and build a wall, and all of a sudden everything is fair and just for people, and it isn't. And that's what this video is about. So this is not a video about just foreigners. This is about you, U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens. This U.S. citizen woman, we'll call her Clarice. Names changed to protect the innocent. So Clarice is married to Freddie. Freddie is a non-U.S. citizen. He's a Mexican. They're married, they have a family. And they also have children, U.S. citizen children. And just before Trump was elected, they put in for a marriage, they put in for a marriage visa, and it got accepted. Sounds pretty normal so far. However, that was just before Trump got elected. This is not an anti-Trump video. This is not a pro-Trump video. We don't take sides here. This is a story. And so they got approved. But it was just before Trump got elected. Right after Trump got elected, all of a sudden, they went back on their word. They said, well, Freddie had a history of having been in the States with unauthorized. And all of a sudden, after Trump came in, that became an issue. It wasn't an issue before. Keep in mind, this isn't just, you know, John Doe by himself, some, you know, terrorist or something. This is a family, okay? Stay focused on the fact that this is a U.S. citizen married to a non-citizen. And so all of a sudden, after Trump gets elected, his past gets pulled up, and they use it as a reason to start putting up various. So that's what they do. They start putting, oh, you need to get this piece of paper. So he gets the piece of paper, and he gets the piece of paper, and then they come up with some reason why it's denied. And long story short, they put him through the meat grinder for the next 2 or 3 years, going back on their word and making him come in for another interview and then denying it, because he already had an interview. Remember, he had an interview and was approved initially just before Trump. But after Trump, all these hurdles start coming up. And
remember, Clarice is a U.S. citizen.
Remember that Clarice is a U.S. citizen.
That's big.
So she is being denied the lawful, godly union to her husband and her children. Because when a man leaves his father and mother and he cleaves onto his wife, and this is both in the Old Testament and it is also quoted by the apostles in the New Testament, they are no longer two, but one. They are one. And they have an unalienable right to be together as a family. And no government has any authority in God's kingdom to keep families apart over, I mean, if this guy was a mass murderer or something, you know, that's understandable. But in most of these cases, that's not what's happening. It's just a bureaucratic...
These are good people.
They're good people. They're a family. Arrested. They have 3 children together. Obviously a bona fide family.
Long-time marriage.
This is not about a 60-year-old wife with a 30-year-old foreign husband that just got married 6 months ago that smells of fraud. You know, this is not about that. Not about that at all. And so they kept putting up these barriers and making them come in to more interviews just so they could deny it. And so then they decided to sue through their lawyer the U.S. Immigration Department. And when they sued them, the Immigration Department started playing tricks, trying to get the lawsuit dismissed with underhanded, behind-the-scenes methods. And eventually it just didn't work, and they had to admit the family. But what happened is that the whole story, it took 6 years. These people went through this for 6 years. They were separated as a family of bona fide marriage with children, U.S. citizen children. And there are many, many, many stories like that of people that have been long-time married, several years, many years, some even decades. Many of them have been to the U.S. before. Many of them have U.S. citizen children that are being kept apart from their families, and this is just not acceptable. It's not right.
Yeah, there's more people like this. Lots of United States citizens that,
and again,
married to Europeans.
People get on this anti-foreigner stand. That's what I was saying earlier in the video, is that their focus is narrowed, and it causes a distraction, and it causes a mob anti-foreigner psychology. And then families like this get caught up in the middle of that, and
it's not right,
and it's not acceptable. A country that purports to have people that believe in right and wrong, and put America first, make America great again. How can you say those things, right? Because when you say those things and all you do is focus on money.
Exactly.
But you don't focus on the spirit of right and wrong, of people's humanity. People's humanity, the beginning of all humanity was a husband and a wife, Adam and Eve. What God has put together, let not man separate. And I fear that U.S. culture gives lip service to family values when I see cases like this.
Yes.
It just it just makes one that cares about the humanity of creation and people and families, that has strong family values and practices what they preach, because we have a family reunification ministry we have had for over 20 years. It just makes one really annoyed to the extreme. And Americans need to understand that the value of life in their own very own country goes nowhere without the family. And this is not just about foreigners. It's about you, your compatriots, your neighbors, your friends. This is the 21st century, and Americans are married to foreigners, It's just a fact you need to accept. And it's been being swept under the rug for far too long, and it needs to come up to the surface. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying with me on this video, and let us know your thoughts. And please don't just copy and paste the headlines in the comments. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.